Right, Bobby. So, two things for the electric guitar, right? So, power chords and the pentatonic scale. Okay, so those are kind of two things that you wouldn't do a whole lot of on the acoustic guitar, but you do a lot of on the electric. So what we have first of all is usually power chords go like this most of the time. There's a couple of different ways of doing them, but most of the time they're like this. You've got a bass note on either the 6th or the 5th string. Then you hold down the next 2 strings down from that 2 frets up. Now, sounds fairly simple, but you need to make sure that it's all clean, right? So you're holding pressure on this string here, but going light here to take them out of the equation, okay? So it's a lot about making sure the notes you don't want to hear don't ring out, so that you've got something kind of just gently touching them, so it mutes them, right? Okay, so all you need to really be able to do with this is be able to move it around. You need to be able to hop from one string to the next and change frets. It's pretty much it, right? So we'll go with Blitzkrieg Bop as the first example, right? So that's... Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so let's say we break this down into 8. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, and then you're catching this next one on the up. Okay, so that's Blitzkrieg Bop, and then we did Iron Man as well. Let's try that again. So that's 2nd fret, 5th, 7th, 7th, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10. So you're hitting it and dragging it back, right? It's not that. 5, 5, 7, 7, okay? Now, by the way, I think the original way of doing this is basically if you take this power chord, so you know the way one string is 5 frets higher than the other string, right? So if you go up 5 frets and then up another string, you end up at the same note. So that's what we're going to be doing here as well, right? So just try it on the other string too. So start off on the 7th fret. Okay, so that's just the numbers I gave you there for this one. Just add 5 to all of them and stick them on the 6th string. Okay, oh yeah, and we did one other Iron Man riff as well. So we kind of skipped one of them, right, because it's just not as fun to play. This is kind of more typical, right? So we get that B power chord, 7th fret on the 6th string. And then from there, we've got a pentatonic scale, so more on that later, right? But for now, we're going... So we hit the power chord twice. 7, 10, 7 on the next string. 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. And as you were saying there yourself, you can hammer those on, but keep in mind, right, that hammer-ons and pull-offs and picking does not sound the same, right? So there's a place for both of them, right? It's not that one is better than the other, but they are very different, right? So like, let's say... So I didn't pick any of those, right? So that's called legato, and one note runs right into the next real smooth. But then on the other hand... So when you pick all of them, it just sounds a lot more aggressive, okay? All right, so speaking of the pentatonic, right? So if we were doing something in the key of B, we'd start off here, 6th fret, 7th fret on the 6th string, which gives us a B note, right? So you start from there. The way we're going to do it first is 2 notes on every string. The first of every 2 starts on the same fret, so we've got a straight line going across the bottom of the scale, and then from there we're going up by 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. Okay, so 4 main techniques: hammer-ons, full offs. Then of course you can combine them. Pick, hammer, pull, hammer. Okay, we've got slides. Self-explanatory enough, just keep the pressure down as you're moving. And then finally, probably the most difficult of all to get them right is bends. Okay, so with a bend, much more often than not, you're bending up by a certain amount, right? So let's say we take the top note on this B string, it's on the 10th fret, and we want to go up by, it's usually either 1 or 2 frets, or 1 or 2 semitones, okay? So make sure you don't do that, okay? Just go right up. It's got to be measured. Okay? What else did we do? Oh yeah, vibrato. 2 main ways for now, okay? Although with a floating bridge like this, you can, even without the whammy bar, make sure you get the whammy bar. You can just put the heel of your hand down and kind of make a door knocking motion, okay? That'll work. But assuming you don't have one of those, you can, let's switch the sound a little bit. So we'll go, oh yeah, by the way, make sure you're messing around with these the whole time, okay? Just getting a different idea, getting ideas of how they respond in general, okay? You don't just set those and leave them. But when it comes to your default setting, pickup switch should be wherever you want it, okay? Just whatever voicing suits whatever you're doing. Like with the power chord stuff, like, you know, Iron Man, Blitzkrieg Bop, pretty much always down there in the bridge position. That's your typical kind of rock position, okay? But other than that, just explore them. So you've got your tone for, I think on your one, that one is for this pickup, and then this tone is for these two, okay? So tone is just brightness, okay? And volume, remember that this is, if you want the same sound only quieter or louder, this is not the one you use. You use the master volume on your amp for that. This, you're better off seeing this more as an aggression knob rather than a volume knob, right? Because it is just volume, but it dictates how hard the guitar is hitting the amp, and that doesn't just make it quieter or louder. It makes it more aggressive or less aggressive as well. So your typical default setting for that should be all the way up and back a bit, okay? And that way you've got a little bit of room to get, you know, a bit heavier if you need to, without having to touch the amp. Okay, so so the 2 different ways of doing vibrato that we're gonna do is the roll, okay? So you just get a good strong grip of the string, and your band is just doing that, only for it's stuck here by your grip. Okay, so we're not actually bending the string there, we're just kind of rolling back and forward on it. So that's kind of a less dramatic way of doing it. More dramatic way of doing it is to actually bend it, okay? So now this is not this or this, okay? It's this, okay? You're doing this with your wrist, your fingers are really more or less just holding it, okay? So we're going. And prioritize steadiness over speed. The speed will come with time. What's important about this is that it's steady, right? It can't be wobbly and inconsistent all over the place. It's got to be steady and smooth, okay? Now, remember as well that you can go down and back to the original position. You can go, you know, if you're on the first string, obviously you can't pull it down, so you got to push it up and leave it come back down. Just not both. You can't go up above the natural position, then below it. It just sounds weird and kind of, again, wobbly. So, okay, so we're approaching the 10-minute mark here, so that's plenty to be getting on with, right? So main thing is get those power chords moving around the fretboard. You know, you've got Blitzkrieg Bop and Iron Man, but whatever, just it's just this shape, move it around. Oh yeah, one more thing, right? If you want to come down here, right, it's the same idea. What if your bass string is open, right? So there's your open E power chord. Let me just. So that's just, you're putting the pad of your finger on those 2 strings, holding those down, but muting these 3. Okay, then you've got the A one. Now, that's just the same thing down a string, but you want to get the thumb on here to mute this one. So that's mute, mute. So you kind of just have to, with those two, you really have to watch how you're distributing the weight of your finger, okay? You want it down on the ones you want to hear, but light on the ones you don't want to hear, okay? All right, we'll leave it at that. Talk to you again.